Hey, what's going on people? It's SGZ here from the SpartanGameZone, and in this video we'll be talking about the day the shield meta was torn apart. In every aspect of Borderlands 3, there's something from the base game that competes with DLC offerings, or at least comes close enough. But on one single day, a few new shields, and one in particular, would ruin that completely. Nothing screams power creep more than this. The difference between top tier shields before and after this date was night and day, black and white, Snooki and JWoww. And I'll be explaining exactly what happened. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like, feel free to subscribe if you'd like to, or you could even follow me on Twitter, and don't forget to let me know in the comments how well balanced you feel shields are in Borderlands 3, and let's crack into it. So for the first 18 months of Borderlands 3, shields were perfectly balanced, like the Great Oak Tree, as Thanos would say. Each shield had a purpose, they played key roles within builds, and if you wanted one thing, you had to forfeit another. If you wanted increased survivability, you would equip something like the Transformer, which protects you from all shock damage and fills up your shields each time you get zapped. The stopgap boosts survivability in a different way by providing immunity from all forms of damage, but only lasts for 5 seconds after your shield breaks, and it has to fully recharge between uses. Shields were like that across the board. Even though there were shields that boosted damage, they weren't clearly the best. One of the best damage boosting shields we had was the Old God, and that only increased the damage of its matching element by 20%. We did have the Stinger, which is a peak shield for melee builds, but again that's a specific avenue you walk your Vault Hunter down. You could cause just as much chaos with one of the Nova shields if you really wanted to, and unique shields like the Black Hole could ragdoll pretty much every type of enemy into submission. Unfortunately, shields aren't like that anymore thanks to the introduction of not one but 3 incredibly powerful shields on the same day, which created a massive rift in the shield line continuum. Borderlands 3 was looking set to avoid the buzz of the bee, which dominated in Borderlands 2 but gave us the Queen Bee, a Wasp, and a Hornet instead. With the launch of the Director's Cut on March 18, 2021, one of the most busted items in all of Borderlands history came along with it. The Revolter, a seriously strong shield with absolutely no downsides whatsoever, and it can even roll with 3 augments. You can grab one from Sumo around here in Escatan Row after completing the first of Ava's murder mysteries. While equipped, whenever it breaks, you become Shock Enraged, which adds 200% shock damage to all of your attacks, not just your weapon but grenades, action skills and melee attacks too. If that wasn't enough, it also increases your fire rate by 50%, and those two things combined seriously raise your DPS. Thanks to its introduction, we're now at the point where you ask yourself, hey, what shield should I use to maximize my damage? And it's almost always the Revolter. It's just too easy and stops you thinking about what shield would be best slotted into your build because you already know what it's going to be. Its effect is easily activated by all Vault Hunters except for Moe's, but it's still worthwhile on her, and it allows you to make just about every weapon in the game look good. It's like Maybelline, but for guns. Compared to the others that came along with it, it's plug and play, a better, more dominant B shield that works with everything. The Infernal Wish also launched on the same day, but was an addition to Arms Race instead, with an increased chance to drop from this chest. Although still insanely strong, unlike the Revolter, the Infernal Wish makes sense. There are clear drawbacks when using this shield that you need to account for. You can't just equip it and annihilate everything, which the Revolter helps you to do all too easily. The Infernal Wish adds a projectile to each shot while there is some charge in it, literally doubling your damage. It's the shield I use for Moe's, and it's absolutely incredible on her. However, as you fire comes the risk of igniting yourself, which not only drains the shield and puts a stop to its effect, but also has the tendency to down you. With single projectile weapons, it does more to increase your damage than the Revolter, but it's up to you and your build on how you counter its obvious downside. We also received the Super Soldier, which rounds up the trifecta, obtained as part of the Fallen Heroes Vault card from the Director's Cut. While fully charged, the Super Soldier grants you 50% extra fire rate, a 25% boost to move speed, and 5% ammo regeneration, as well as a protective barrier that lasts for 5 seconds. Again, it's a shield you need to work with. At launch you could do this on Moe's, which they fixed, but unfortunately it hasn't felt the same to me since. Add these 3 shields together and you get everyone's top picks for increasing their damage. Any damage boosting shield that came before them was flung out the window, and because they do so much damage, players are less likely to pick some of the more interesting and unique shields. You'll struggle to find a build nowadays that doesn't mention one of these 3, particularly the Revolter. The Revolter is the biggest issue here, and it kind of broke the game, leaving the shield slot with no variety. More to the point, it's sad to see that there's little mention of any of the previously great shields. The disappointment is amplified by the fact that they all belong to premium content. They are exclusive to Season Pass 2, and when you're looking for more damage, there's little to no competition, and the base game is particularly affected by that. It's my biggest gripe with Borderlands 3's endgame balancing, but we shouldn't forget about all of the amazing shields that came before them. Don't forget about the Void Rift, Faulty Star, the Red Suit Stopgap, Plus Ultra, or the OG that is the Transformer. Although they don't boost your damage, you can do some pretty crazy things with them. Take the Frozen Heart for instance, dropped by Aurelia around here in Black Barrel Cellars. The Frozen Heart releases Cryonovas on shield break with an extremely high freeze chance and returns the Nova damage back to you as health. It synergizes extremely well with an Icebreaker artifact, which increases your damage against frozen enemies, and has massive survivability benefits too. We also have its cousin, the Snowshoe, which you can get from the Valkyrie squad within the Maliwan takedown. Combine it with Moe's, a Bloodletter, and a Sparkplug artifact, and you'll summon pieces of Antarctica before your very eyes. It's one of the craziest interactions in the entire game, and I never grow tired of experiencing it. It's a shame that Borderlands 3 fell over right at the final hurdle when it came to leaving an equal playing field for shields. I give it a pass mark for everything else. However, if you do want to experiment, there are certainly plenty of other options well worth applying to your build. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned about what happened to shields right at the end of Borderlands 3's content cycle. If you did, consider dropping a like or subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one.